Welcome back to Mazecast. This is episode number 372. I'm your host, Ben Heaton, and I'm joined tonight by Sarah, Vincent, and Barry. Now, we have a lot of segments lined up for you tonight, even more than last episode. So we're just going to launch straight into them with very few introductions. Instead, I'm just going to ask that each of the guests say a few paragraphs about what you hope to accomplish tonight. Vincent?
Well, I think that the last show that you guys did was probably the first reasonably watchable episode of Mazecast. So my goal for tonight is not to recreate that experience. That's a bit lofty. I don't have any illusions that this is going to be watchable as well. But if we could even land in the ballpark of watchable, I'll consider this a job well done.
Great. Sarah?
My goals for tonight are to spend at least an hour talking to Maze.
All right. And Barry?
Well, I really don't know. My goal is to zoom in on the entrance, I guess.
All right.
Probably a good idea. Yeah.
All right, and with that, let's go straight into Gazing into the Abyss. This is the segment where we recap recent comments on Into the Abyss for the benefit of listeners who haven't been keeping up with that as closely as might be advisable if you wanted to stay absolutely current on everything in the Maze community. So, the biggest thing that's happened is Ask Manson, but that's big enough that we've actually given it its own segment for later in the episode. We'll be getting to that later. Other things that have happened. Voting on which room White Raven should give a hint for concluded. Room 44 won the election with, how many votes did it get?
Like 1,000.
1,000, okay. It won with 1,000 votes, narrowly beating out, I don't know, some room everybody hated. White Raven gave a hint for it, which was correctly guessed very quickly by our own Sarah, or Aria, to use her Abyss name. We'll have more on that for you later. The other important thing that happened on Into the Abyss that I noticed is that a new theory was posted about Room 26. According to naval architect Eric, the way the doors are drawn suggests that only the door to Room 30 of all the doors in this room can be freely opened. If you tried to open others, they would be blocked by the devil's trap doors. You wouldn't be able to get them open. So therefore, by the odd one in principle, 30 is the door that is actually blocked. And that's about it for Abyss comments. Next up, we have Sarah presenting some information about the June hint, which, as I mentioned, she correctly guessed, so who better to explain what the deal is there?
Okay. So, what I'm going to do is screen share. So I can just put up the room. And I really wanted to be able to do this a lot faster than I was able to last time. That doesn't seem to be happening. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah, I see room 44, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to show that so that, and just let me know if that's, right.
Oh, well, I can't say that.
There we go. That's okay. Okay, so the hint was for this room.
Mm-hmm. Which Barry is holding up as well.
What's that?
Which Barry is holding up a picture of the room as well, so
okay, that's it.
We're pretty thoroughly covered.
Okay. Can you still see the room? Is that what's up?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the hint was this solution is a relatively common English idiom used at least in US, Canada, UK, and India. I hear it rarely, but I read it maybe once a month in news or business publications. No doubt you've all heard it many times, but may have never actually used it yourself. half of the idiom, okay, I'm going to try and paraphrase. So half the idiom was related to the reptile. The other half is about something related to the reptile. It has nothing to do with the name or type of the reptile. And there's something to do with an important feature of the reptile, which was highlighted by the way the reptile is drawn. And White Raven compared that to the way he drew the tortoise in the 20, who wisely won the race. Okay, so there were a couple of suggestions thrown out. One great one was Ben's collared green suggestion.
Yeah, a little pun on collared there.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Had a nice little discussion there about. Okay, and so White Raven talked a lot about how he thought this was a pretty vague, difficult hint. But I have to say, I think it was one of his clearer hints because it's already narrowed it down to an idiom. So all you really had to do was Google a couple of words that may have to do with the reptile or important stuff relating to the reptile, which is what I did. I Googled like 3 words and one of them was circle and ended up with vicious circle. And that, to my surprise, was actually what he was hinting. So the solution was vicious circle, and the solution as stated now in the abyss is the reptile circling the palm tree gives us the phrase vicious circle. The reptile is drawn to emphasize the mean look on its face, and the reptile is chained to the palm tree so it goes around in a circle. Vicious circle indicates the reader's sad circumstance being in this room and warns the reader away from door 21. And it compares that to what's going on with the pillar and the rope suggesting an escape from a loop.
So my first question, do you like this solution? Like you certainly guessed it. That part was a success.
So we've talked about it a little bit in the hangout, and I think that whoops, I'm just gonna stop screen sharing for a minute so I can talk. I think I agree with what Vincent said, which is that it's a pretty fun way to clue vicious circle, having a crocodile going around in a circle or a caiman or whatever. But it's not totally clear that vicious circle. How does vicious circle tell you anything, really?
Yeah, and as a clue for the idea that you're lost going around in circles, it's not exactly the right phrase for that. Your situation as one of the guests is not really that sort of feedback loop.
Right. Yeah, that's not really what a vicious circle is, unless you think, okay, you're lost, you pick the wrong door, then you get more lost. I guess.
I think it works if you take the phrase vicious circle literally, like it's a bad circle, you're going around and it's not helping. But that's, the opposite of thinking of this as an idiom.
I guess so. That's true.
Yeah, that's
I can kind of see the meaning vicious circle relating here a bit, but it's strained, I think.
Yeah. Vicious circle used to mean circular argument, right? But it doesn't mean that anymore. So much. People don't use it in that sense anymore. People use it in the sense of a chain of events that continue to worsen.
Yeah. And like feeding back in on themselves.
I actually wrote down the definition. Okay. An unbroken sequence of reciprocal cause and effect and action and reaction that intensify each other. This is
one thing is happening, it makes another thing happen more, that feeds back into the first thing.
Yeah, like today, so my 6-year-old, he gets hungry and then he gets really intractable. And so what I wanted him to do at that moment was eat his lunch, but he was hungry, so he was very intractable. And the longer he refused to eat his lunch, the more hungry and intractable he became. So that to me is a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's a good example. See Vincent nodding knowingly.
Only broken by bribery. I did resort to bribery. Okay, so do I like this? You know what? So according to Waiver, even this room is now finished. However, I think there's some unexplained stuff in this room.
Yeah, like everything except the alligator on a chain, right? Like that's the solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that Corinthian column. We have those statues in the back. I'm not solid. I'm not sold, I should say, about the meaning of that rope tied around the column on the right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, everything about the solution is. I mean, it's the same stuff. Well, no, I mean, after the vicious circle, like vicious circle, that's the interesting suggestion of it, right? Everything after that, like then it's just do whatever you have to do to make it the right solution, which isn't that hard because it's right in front of the wrong door. But tying the rope into it just seems arbitrary. I mean, that doesn't particularly mean anything. The interesting part is just the vicious circle, and I don't see how it's meaningful. This for the reasons you've already discussed, but it's at least moving in the right direction. In that, if Manson meant to say vicious circle, this is something he might have done to do that. So yeah. It's at least treating Manson as like a rational actor. We just don't know what his purpose would have been at this point, including vicious circle, which doesn't mean that it's wrong. I think the solution as it's posted is not correct, but there could still be some reason why Manson wanted to put the phrase vicious circle in here.
And it is getting at the sort of phrase that I was hoping we'd find more of. The sort of following up on the Room 21 turnaround thing.
So I think it's a good solution. Or not solution. I think it's a good suggestion.
Yes.
These are the kinds of ideas that should be thrown out. I think it's sort of unfortunate that it's being presented in the way. Oh, God damn echo.
Right. I think that's feedback to Barry.
Sorry, hang on.
That's all right. It's
what did I say? It doesn't have to be watchable, just in the ballpark. And we couldn't even make it.
Well, I think we've given a pretty good idea of how we feel about this vicious circle hint.
Yeah.
So next up, we have the Mystery Room Challenge. Mm-hmm. This is a new segment in which how does this work again?
So, okay. So we have...
this is the one with the room that we had Matt Smith, friend of the show, draw for us.
Yes.
Yeah, we approached an artist friend and asked him to draw a fake room in sort of a maze style. We're going to examine that room and try to solve it, but the solution that we're going to try to get is a particular number, which has not yet been determined.
Okay, so why don't I do the number first and then I can screen share the room?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
You can screen share the random number generation.
Yeah. Yes.
That's going to be randomly selected
Yeah.
among all positive integers.
Yeah, I know, between 1 and 45.
Okay.
Make it mazy, Okay, there it is.
So it's 12, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hang on. No, and that's just the one that landed on, so we're gonna make it official. I'm gonna click on it.
Yeah, right.
Ready?
Yeah.
14.
Okay.
14. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna share the room picture now.
Right. So the idea here is this is simulating the experience of solving an actual room in maze, where you know what door you're supposed to go through, or you know what number you're trying to pretend you're coming up with a solution for.
Oh, look at that. Door 14.
Should I pick another number?
No, this is fine. There are a bunch of numbers in here, and we need to figure out why that would be the one to take.
Okay,
well, it's the only door we could go through, it looks like.
Well, wait. First, I think we should give the viewers a moment to examine this room.
Okay.
Wow, I'm so jealous. This is better than my room.
It's a different style, Barry.
Yeah, that's true. This one has the Ghostbusters logo.
does have that.
So 2016.
Huh.
Yeah, I like the detail on that flooring too.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I notice is that mirror on the right shows the door to room 14, but mirrored it's 41. So we're going to need to figure out why that is just misdirection. Why that's not actually the way you want to go to room 41. So is there some interpretation we can come here with mirrors being bad? Like, if you break a mirror, that's bad luck, right?
Yeah.
So, so we have door 14, 7, and 3.
Yeah.
Are those the choices?
I think so. I think 41 is also a choice, kind of.
Okay.
Maybe.
I think that's plausible.
41 looks like it's dead. It says 41, rest in peace.
Yeah, it does. Although under
So maybe 41.
well,
Yeah. Anyway, go on, Vincent.
Well, I think what the room is trying to clue us is that we are a ghost. We're dead.
okay.
We can't go in 7 because it has the Ghostbuster symbol on there. Ghosts are not permitted there. Ghosts don't have reflections, so we can't access the room inside the mirror. 3, that's a little simpler. It's just the electrical socket with a fork by it, which is just inherently suggestive of danger. So we're left with 14, which actually has the Casper sign on it, signaling that that's the correct one for a friendly ghost to go through. The question is, how do we know that this room is telling us that we're dead? Now, we do have the RIP. We have a skull on the spider there. Is there a better way to say that we know that's directed towards us as the person choosing which way to go?
Maybe that's what the little man looking into the frame is saying. Saying, this is you, the viewer, and looking at the truth of your life.
So you think that frame represents, like, the frame through which we're seeing this room?
Yeah. Also, there's those stalactites or stalagmites. I can't remember which one is which.
Stalactites.
Stalactites, which are very, very, very old and much older than any human could ever live to be. So that's what's cluing us that we're dead.
Wait, we're dead because we're near something old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's beside the spider, so that clarifies it. Also, the shape of the stalactite is the reverse of the shape of the ghost with the B symbol.
Oh, okay, I have an idea. What if, in order for it to be possible for you to solve the maze, you need to pick the choice where you have a ghost of a chance?
That's good.
That's why the robot is there. It represents a random number generator. That's the element of chance. Ghost of a chance.
Now, what's going on with the cat in the corner?
I think it has something to do with how we died.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the Oscar Mayer Wiener truck there, which is suggestive of both a gluttonous lifestyle of ill health and poor eating, and also a phallic symbol, which combined with the human-animal hybrid in the corner suggests probably some kind of I don't want to insult furries, but some kind of evil, degenerate lifestyle that involves non-normal sex.
Which always leads to death, inevitably.
So that, combined with the suggestion that you, the reader / maze explorer, are dead, have to wonder, is the maze hell?
It's certainly where people deserve to go if they die after having abnormal sex.
we have a bit of an underworld thing going on in the lower left corner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an Evil Dead thing.
Well, there's a ring there. Do you think that's like a Lord of the Rings thing?
Would be your immediate thought.
Yeah. There are some depictions of Gollum where that could be Gollum's hand reaching for the ring.
Oh, that's true.
I'm curious about that view through the window on on the door to 14.
Yeah, what is that back there?
I don't know, but it looks like an outdoors scene. It doesn't look like what we expect on room 14. It's certainly not showing a giant table leg and such.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Looks like paradise, which is, I guess, if you're a friendly ghost, that's where you're going. I think we cracked this room. What do you think?
Well,
I think
because 14's the right answer.
12 meter.
That's right. And that was the point. Good idea, Vincent.
Okay. All right, so next we're going to get into the real meat of this show. We're going to be discussing the latest Ask Manson results. Now, as you know, Ask Manson results come in fairly rarely. We just got some like a day or two ago, and there's a lot there to discuss. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so there were 4 questions that were put to Manson. The first one he refused to answer, which was just picking any room that he wanted and telling us what we had right and what we had wrong. He didn't want to do that.
Maybe that's too much work. He would have to pick a room and then talk about it.
And he'd have to look at things that we said about it, which is probably the real deterrent.
Yeah, well, nobody should have to do that.
But then he had 3 other answers that I not all had very interesting implications. One question he was asked was in regard to whether there were any known errors in Maze, typographical or whatever, with specific mention of the misspelling of the word millennium in room 13. And Manson was apparently politely emphatic that no, there are, at least to his knowledge, there are not any. He was very deliberate in how he constructed Maze, and the misspelling of millennium was absolutely deliberate. I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, we put that question a long time ago, and I don't remember who first wrote it, but for some reason I have long just made my peace with the idea that it was a mistake. I don't know why I came around to assuming that it was, but it came as a real surprise to me when he said that it was not.
Yeah. This also means
a misspelled word.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising.
This also means that it is in fact true that 1 times 1 equals 2.
No, that was a deliberate mistake, like millennium.
Yeah. So that does. It's probably emboldens us, and maybe it should to consider everything seriously, not take anything to be, an errant line or a thoughtless remark or inclusion.
Like printer errors or anything, yeah.
Yeah. What else do we have? There was a question of whether the door count that's given in room 5, where he says that there are, boy, I'm running from memory here, 190 rooms in this part of the house. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And he says, including the gate, which is actually not accurate. If you include the gate in the count, then it goes to 191, unless you can somehow count a couple doors as one door, which was part of the question, like, is the door between 10 and 37, does that count as one door? Because it seems to be one door, they hear each other through it and all that. But Manson said, no, it's not. It's an inaccurate count. The guide is lying, which is very interesting because we knew that the guide lied when he talked to the visitors. But in room 5, when he's giving the door count, he's not saying it out loud to anybody. It's just his own internal monologue that's going throughout the book.
Yeah, which
so it's just like
doesn't really make sense as a lie.
right. We don't know why he's lying about it. And I think we sort of assume that it's not.
Like I just the text in Maze as his account to us after the fact of what happened that time he took some people into the maze. But it doesn't seem to support that. It feels like just ordinary point of view narration.
Yeah, and apart from the back of the book where he's directly challenging the reader to try to solve the maze, there's nothing in the book to suggest that the person reading the story is in any way part of the narrative, is interacting with the guide. So that has real interesting, far-reaching complications. I think this is something we're going to be referencing over and over when we look at statements the guide makes in other places, and then we have to insert doubt into it. Like, the guide is saying this, but, is it true just because the guide is thinking it, I guess we should say.
Yeah, if we know that Manson... I mean, I see this as basically a lie from Manson to the reader, writing 109 there.
So are you saying that the count is accurate if you don't include the gate?
Yeah, there are 190 doors if you don't count the gate. Well, but there are rules for how you count the doors. I mean, you essentially have to count each entrance/exit in each room, whether it's one way or not. Which means that even in room 24, where you can't see anything, you have to count all the entrances that brought you there.
Yeah, there's multiple ways you could handle some weird cases with doors, but the important thing here is Manson does admit that this count is inaccurate. So we don't need to try to figure out rules for counting doors that would make it accurate.
But it's inaccurate in kind of an interesting way. Like if the door count is accurate until he adds that little extra statement including gate, it's almost like he's telling us the truth, except there's that one little piece of a lie, but it's easy. It's not like he's saying there's 183 or something.
Yeah, so this is one of many cases where I wish that from Ask Manson we had the actual text of what Manson had said. Instead we have like a paraphrased account of what Manson said, more or less. But like in this post when it says Manson said that the door count is inaccurate because it was said by the narrator, the guide, I would be interested to know if Manson actually spelled it out that explicitly. Like if he said, yes, that door count is inaccurate, or if he said, oh, yeah, that thing you asked about, that's because the guide is saying it. I don't think that White Raven is misrepresenting this at all. I would just like to be sure.
There are small details and turns of phrase that could change how we're interpreting or what the consequences are for the entire book. Yeah.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, Manson is not able to give official statements with that sort of explicitness or go on the record in that way. So, what we do have here is interesting enough. This is certainly nice stuff to work with.
Yeah. And the third question that he answered was whether there was any other large puzzle that we hadn't found that was in the book, something akin to the riddle of the path or the riddle of the guide. And I think his response was interesting in two ways. Number one, because he said yes. Because he said, yes, there's something out there that no one has figured out yet that's major like that. So that's pretty huge.
And that is explicit. White Raven posted that in quotation marks, saying, then I said, so there is at least one significant multi-room riddle apart from what I just listed? Manson replied, yes. That seems very clear.
Mm-hmm. But the other interesting thing of what Manson said is he didn't, when White Raven asked him, is there something we haven't discovered? And Manson's like, well, I don't keep up on the site. What have you guys found out? And White Raven starts telling him about the things we found out. Manson apparently said something of the effect of, well, you guys know about how all the wrong doors are pointed to, right? All the doors are pointed to except for the correct door. Which is a really weird thing to point out if it's just something that applies in a 2 or 3 rooms, which is what it sort of seems like as with the solutions that we have for the maze, that this called odd one in principle is not something you'd consider a global solution in maze. It's just something where sometimes the correct door is notable for not being indicated in some way. But the way Manson threw that out there is if that's one of the major discoveries of the book, suggests that it's far more prevalent than we realize at this point.
Yeah, and I think Raven made that point too, which suggests that we're not misinterpreting what was said, or the way that it was transcribed is not misleading.
Yeah, I think he interpreted it correctly, what the implication was of Manson's statement. Otherwise, I mean, we laughed about this when we talked about it before. Like, otherwise, what is Manson just talking about room 1? Oh, you figured out that puzzle in room 1, right?
And it's worth knowing that that puzzle in room 1 with those 3 words being indicated in the text, but not the 4th, is one of the few single-room puzzles that Manson has explicitly confirmed before in an email to Dave Gentile.
Mm-hmm. So
I've had very few examples of anything like that about single-room puzzles.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be worth taking another look. At least at all the rooms on the path. I wonder whether it's actually true of every room in the maze, but I bet it's true at least far more often on the path than we realize. Very interesting. So those are the 3 questions. I think every one of them has given us a new direction that we need to go in looking at maze. I think this is the biggest Ask Manson so far, really.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most concrete in clearing things up or telling us things, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Thanks a lot, White Raven. Man, Ask Manson, what a great thing.
Seriously.
Do you think, even if there wasn't anything left for us to find, would he really have said no?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it was about whether there are major things left, especially, right? Like, he could have said, you've got all the major stuff. There's a few little secrets the maze still has to hold.
Yeah, I mean, there was that email he sent to... There was an email that Manson sent to John Bailey, however many million years ago, where he told John Bailey, yeah, you basically solved maze, which wasn't apparently, I mean, it was true in terms of contest solutions, but this was well after the contest, so that was a little misleading. It doesn't seem like Manson had a problem with just telling people like, yeah, you pretty much got it. He wasn't maintain a sense of mystery there, even though he probably should have, because there was so much more that hadn't been solved by John Bailey's solution at that point. So at least, I mean, I don't know that we can really detect a pattern from an email that Manson, or I don't even think it was an email, it was a letter at that point. I don't remember, but whatever it was, we can't derive a pattern of Manson's communications from that, single response that he gave to John Bailey all those years ago. It may well be that he was just being terse at that point. And now that there's this revival of interest and he's trying to keep it going, but at least it doesn't seem to have a pattern of trying to stoke up interest in additional mysteries until other people are asking about them. Like he never did anything to suggest to people that there was a riddle of the guide in the book, right?
That's true.
Well, I mean, the book is kind of written to make you wonder about the guide.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's not,
but I mean, it's
nothing for the contest, but there's all that stuff like, the true identity of the guide is Tornor.
Yeah, that's true. But at least as far as I know, in any of his communications, his rare communications with people,
Mhm.
he had been like, "Oh, sounds like you've figured some things out. Have you tried your hand at solving the mystery of the identity of the guide?" Like, he doesn't seem to fan the flames much that I've seen in any of his communications.
It's true.
But who knows? I mean, his communications that we know about are pretty scant.
Yeah. So interesting stuff from Ask Manson. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of ramifications from this in episodes to come.
Which one first?
Next up, we have the Random Room Challenge.
We're supposed to talk about this for an hour.
Oh, it hasn't been an hour?
The thing is, we really could talk about that for an hour. But remember, I'm trying to keep this in that ballpark.
Right.
Okay, before I move on from this, what do you think would be the most interesting thing to start to try and work on based on Ask Manson?
Ooh, I think applying odd one in more generally
Mm-hmm.
and trying to work out possible ways that could be part of a major puzzle.
That's interesting. We could start with a list of odd one ins we know about so far.
Yeah, which is the one in room 1 and then a bunch of really shaky ones.
Well, the one in room 39 is rock solid.
Well,
And now it has been confirmed by Manson himself.
it is not.
Confirmed.
It has not. Don't say that. It has not.
Yeah, Manson confirmations are very rare. Let's not devalue them. So, what do you think is going to be the most productive thing to come out of this Ask Manson? Yeah.
I think you're right. I think, well, the only one that I think we can really apply very deliberately is looking for more odd one in type solutions. Knowing that there's another big multi-room solution out there is very interesting. It's going to make us keep our eyes open, but it's a hard thing to look for deliberately. When you don't know what you're looking for or where you're looking for it. It's just something we're going to have to keep in the back of our minds. That the guide lies even in his thoughts is something that we'll have to keep in mind from here on out. But I think it's going to be a hard thing to just go from room to room and be like, oh, he could be lying about this. Hey, he could be lying about this too. I don't know.
It's possible that something will jump out as especially likely there.
Yeah. But I think those will both just be kind of like background information that we need to keep in mind. The odd one in's larger applicability is something we can actually actively go out and apply.
What about that N? I know that's not large, but it's something specific.
I missed what you said there.
I want to know about the missing N.
Yeah. Yeah, why would Manson do that? Maybe he thinks that's how the word should be spelled, so it was deliberate in that sense.
He's just trying to institute a new spelling.
He's covering up a typo, I think.
Yeah, maybe it is a typo and he's just embarrassed about that.
I don't know.
Me too, if you drew it.
It's interesting. All right, so we got the random room challenge coming up.
Random room challenge.
Okay.
As you know, this is the time on every show when we take a random room and try to solve something new about it. We have 5 minutes to do that, starting from when the random number is randomly generated by Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, and you should screen share this so that it counts.
Yeah, plus I don't have my book in front of me, so.
You know all the...
Well, it's true, but it helps to look at it when you're trying to find something new.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, 44.
Great. Okay.
That's funny.
Let's try to solve something about room 44. I'll start a timer for 5 minutes. And go.
Well, the alligator looks domesticated at least. He's got a choker collar, but
Yeah.
But pit bulls and bulldogs have it.
Yeah,
I
that
guess.
slight collar has to mean something.
Yeah.
I think there now. I think the 9 spikes is pretty solid on that one, isn't it? It also makes it look vicious, so it kind of works with the vicious purple thing.
9 spikes. God damn it.
Oh, so you should go to room 9 from here.
No.
Oh, you combine it with the 9 on the rope because the rope makes 9.
Damn.
Oh,
And,
wait, 9 circle? 9 circles of hell? It's all fitting together.
and was there another alligator? Because there's another string and there's another pillar.
Yeah, though that string seems to end on the doorknob.
Oh,
You guys, I had a solution that I was quite pleased with in this room that, of course, no one else really liked.
I did too. Cayman.
Well, even you yourself admit that it doesn't quite work as a solution.
Well, I'm not saying that we've finished working out how Cayman works here.
Yeah.
But I think it is significant that this reptile looks more like a caiman than like an alligator or crocodile. And the text of the room has the phrase came in.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ben. I don't think it's at all plausible that Manson would not have noticed that.
Yeah, the odds of somebody writing we came in that way by chance are astronomical.
and the walls.
I think it's something
You can walk through them.
Sorry, Barry, what was that about the walls?
I was saying you could walk through them because apparently somebody vanished through the wall. So,
Oh,
apparently these are trap walls.
yeah, that's true. The text says they vanished through the wall, which is an interesting way to put that.
Pet chameleon, maybe.
So let's say the statues are like chess pieces, right?
Right.
It's got a king and a queen, knight there, and the pillar and maybe even the palm tree are they're like pawns. And what's that?
You said one thing looks like a king? I'm not seeing.
Just go with me here, okay?
Okay, go on.
Can you just be cool for one fucking second?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And so the pawn, which is is connected by a rope there to the sort of home row there. The idea is by going that way, it's like the movement of the pawn into the opposing player's back row, which then of course allows you to turn your pawn into a queen.
Okay.
Or whatever, which is a good thing. So that's that's the way you go. Unlike the classic chess blunder of having your pawn eaten by a crocodile.
I mean,
What about this?
the alligator being chained up by a collar does suggest being captured.
Oh, yeah. Good. I never thought of the room in these terms before, and this is not a solution, but you've got the pillar there, and its shadow connects to room 21, sort of, like it goes over anyway, and the rope from the pillar connects to room 18. I wonder if there's some reason to think of this as a choice between the shadow and the rope.
And a rope is better to climb than a shadow, so you should go that way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, there
On the website,
folds in this room.
on the website of the whole books publishing, I don't know who converted it. Room 18 actually goes to room 11. I don't know why, but it connects to room 11, and someone pointed that out through my channel. My channeling of Maze, Clyde did, and he said, "Why does it go to room 11?" So,
So maybe
I
Manson added that shadow on there as a warning to future users of your program that if there were some mistake and 18 led to 11 instead of 18, that they'd be better off going to room 21 because 11 is in the trap. So that was some keen foresight by Manson.
And it has been 5 minutes, so right now. But that was good. I think we got a few new solutions out of that. So our next segment is my favorite room. Today I'm going to be the one presenting my favorite room. I'll give a brief description of why it's my favorite and then open the floor for rebuttal from the others.
There's no rebuttal is mandatory.
Look how excited Vincent is.
Alright, so my favorite room is room 16.
Oh, 16.
You guys all know this one. Very fun room. So one thing that I like here is that the text of it combined with the picture gives us a lot of information about the guide's background. Like when we're going for textual clues about his identity, we get the most information from this one. We know about his old neighbors, that he is a figure of myth. We also have that the top hat guy running by sees the guide and is scared, which I think is pretty important. There's a lot we don't know about what's going on with the top hat guy, but this room is certainly central to it. The other thing I like is just the mysterious objects in this room. I think this has some of the best collections of... No, I think it has the best collection of mysterious objects in all of Maze. We still don't know what this weird machine is, and people have tried to identify that as particular things with no real compelling success. There's this pot with the lid that's kind of a clown hat with holes in it. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. I've seen some theories that it's an incense type deal, but that doesn't really explain anything. We also have that wall scroll with the picture of Orson. That we have identified, but we've identified it in a very strange way. It's this extremely specific, obscure art reference. And we don't know yet what Manson intended by that or how much he intended by that. It could just be a picture that he liked and he decided to include in here for fun. I think that if we knew everything that was going on in this room with Manson's intent, with the sources he was trying to use and why, I think that would tell us a whole lot about Maze in general and what is going on with how Manson tries to convey things through art. So that's why I like room 16.
Rebuttal now? All right, now look. The room having a lot of information dumped into it doesn't make it a good room. And this sort of artless info dumping of, hey, this kind of reminds me of my old neighbors, and they're telling stories about me, and it's a really lazy way for him to he could have thrown that line into essentially any room in the maze. So while I agree it's nice to have that information about the narrator, this is one place where Manson really falls short of that aim that he talks about, where he wants to write this book where the words and the images are inseparable because they're so intertwined or whatever. That's just him dumping shit. Like he probably used his own random number generator there to figure where he's going to throw that information. Top Hat, everybody likes Top Hat. What a great character. Here he is in 16. You see him in person walking around. Why does he look like dog shit? Because Top Hat in this room looks like he was drawn by me. Take a look at Top Hat. His back leg looks like it's a dog leg or something. It's just bent at all sorts of crooked angles. He doesn't have a face. Like that's a mysterious oversight. You forgot about people having faces. He just looks like all out of proportion. Do we have I was looking to see whether we had the room pulled up. We don't.
I'm going to.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. Is there any way to zoom in on Top Hat there in the middle?
You can zoom in on my version if you want, but it's kind of grainy.
All right. So I don't think I can take much exception to the mysterious objects in this room. I think that's point fairly made. Those are nice objects, but The really interesting things in this room are sort of lazily and crappily just pasted on top of an otherwise reasonable room. And that's why room 16 is the worst room in the maze.
I have nothing to add. I think Vincent said it all.
Mary, do you have anything to add about why room 16 is bad?
I don't know. I think there should be more party hats. I mean, the only person that got a party hat was that urn over there. It's like the only one. It's the only one earning its keep. And well, there's a joke where that's seriously a party hat. That's pretty dope. But that's what I got. And I do like the trap door, but I don't like that it doesn't have a number. It should really have a number to go somewhere aside from wherever it came from. Double-sided doors. That's all I've got.
All right, so that was my favorite room. Next up, we're going to suggest things that will be of interest to maze enthusiasts. Who here has a suggestion ready?
Why don't you start, Ben? And I'm going to note them down so we can put them in the YouTube comments.
All right, I'm going to suggest a book called The Maze of Games by Mike Selinger. This is similar to Maze in that it's a book where you're going from room to room. The exact order of pages you're supposed to go through is not fully known at the start. There is an antagonistic guide who presents them with challenges. Unlike Maze, though, the puzzles are very clearly presented. It's sort of like there'll be a room where there's some story and then there's a crossword with a weird twist on how to solve it that's related to that story. And the book will tell you that this is the case for the most part. So if you kind of like the format of Maze, but you would like it if when you got to a room you knew what sort of puzzle you were supposed to solve, then you might enjoy this.
Sounds good, Ben.
Yeah, if you like a bunch of variants on crosswords and logic puzzles and actual maze solving, it's a fun book. There's quite a lot of puzzles that make it fairly thick.
How far have you gone in Maze of Games?
I've gone through the first 4 sections. And then after that, there's kind of an end game sort of deal, and then there's some other bonus stuff. But the last time I was solving it was when I was on a trip, and when I came back from that, I kind of set the book aside and haven't gotten back to it yet.
Thanks, Ben.
Well,
Who's going next?
I'll mention one briefly. It's obvious to us. We've already read it, but I think anyone who's watching this, hypothetically, should check out The Whistle Pig by Duck Miller. It's a book that can be a little difficult to get your hands on. I guess it seems like at different times when we've looked it up on Amazon, it's had widely varying used prices on there. I've gotten it from the library before, but it's an interesting book, a series of short stories that are supposed to contain clues that provide you with the location of a key, a key that's, I guess, sort of treasure. I mean, it's some physical key that can be located in the real world within the continental United States. And it has a lot of interesting stuff, like weird things with page numbers missing or being omitted, misspelled words. It's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the text. I wish there were a larger community involved with the book already. Right? Something I think we can turn our sights to.
Yeah, good idea to mention that.
Sarah?
Okay. I'm going to recommend or suggest a short story by Kelly Link called The Specialist's Hat, which is a weird and creepy little short story that takes place in a big old house, and it's kind of mazy. I mean, not just for the house, but also because it's creepy without you really knowing why you're feeling quite so freaked out. So it gives you just that strange feeling of being disconcerted, and it just is. Yeah, I'm not very articulate, but it's a great story, and it's online. You can Google it, and it even has a squirrel in it.
Is that a spoiler?
You say it's a squirrel?
I did.
All right. I think we'll all be eager to check this out.
It's got hats and squirrels. I don't know what else you need.
I am eager to check it out, but for perfectly normal, non-sexual reasons.
It's good to know.
Moving on, Barry, do you have a suggestion for the listeners?
Well, I wasn't really prepared for this. I was looking for this book that a friend recommended to me. He said, "Hey, you should draw stuff more like this." And now I looked at it. It seems pretty maze looking. It's called The 11th Hour: A Curious Mystery, and it's about they said when Horse the elephant turns 11, he celebrates in style by inviting his exotic friends to a splendid costume party, but a mystery is afoot. For in the midst of the games, music, and revelry, someone has eaten the birthday feast. And so, I assume you have to figure out who did that. And it's in the form of a book, and there's like a little, I think there's even like a little manila envelope in the end that has like little Q&As. I think you pass them around, and obviously lots and lots of looks like pretty pictures and reviews. But I bought it. I have it. I haven't really opened it. I'm not ready, but maybe someone else is ready before me. So that's what I've got. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about all we have for tonight. So thank you for mazing in with us. We'll maze you back tomorrow.